My name is Siok. Oh, thank you. My name is Siok Siok, and I'm the person who stands between you and dinner. So, so I try to make it quick. I'm a documentary filmmaker. I'm an entrepreneur. I run an online video company in Beijing. We run a network of the equivalent of YouTube channels, except they're distributed only in China, across the platforms like Youku, Qi, Sohu, Miaopai, etc. And I recently published a book of photos of the Beijing hutongs that I took with my iPhone. Okay, I'm going to show you my iPhone. This is the iPhone that I took all the photos with. And we will now show you the trailer of
一部手机。
the book.
过去2年，我每天用光影去叙述北京这个城市的故事。你看到的这些照片，都是我每天下了地铁之后，步行到胡同里的工作室，在8到10分钟内所记录的瞬间。我没有学过摄影，用 iPhone 拍照只是为了练习观察。为了让自己持续练习，我和自己约定，每天把一张照片分享到朋友圈里。没想到，我不经意的分享，却让我找到知音。有人点赞，有人留言，也有人为我的图片加上注解。在坚持了1000多个日子以后，我意外地得到了出版的机会。《人在北京》这本书精选了我用手机拍摄的北京影像，就让我和大家。
Anyway, this is the trailer for the book. All the photos are taken with an iPhone 5. It's quite severely injured now. I dropped it and it's now all cracked. And so today I'm here to share with you the story about, well, the book, but also how I got all these opportunities in China. As you can tell from the trailer,
就是一个不经意的想法和一部手机。
Okay.
过去2年，我每天用光影去叙述北京这个。
Okay. I want to share how this opportunity to be published came about. It's something that is very unexpected because when I first started, I didn't see myself as a photographer, and I wasn't seen as a photographer. I just bought an iPhone and I decided to experiment with it at the end of 2012. And what I did was every day on my walk into work in my office in the hutongs, I took 5 or 6 photos and I shared one every single day. But very soon, this opportunity started coming about in terms of people were encouraging me to publish. In fact, I have this friend who's a director in India that I used to work with, and he did this thing that was quite touching. I also share the photos on Facebook and Instagram and WeChat and all that. And every time he sees a photo he especially loves, he will leave the same message. And the message is, it's time for the book. So 2 weeks later, he sees another photo he loves, he'll leave the same message, it's time for the book. So today I'm going to share basically how it's possible, as in to really create and share your China story just by using very simple tools like your phone. And I think also that to really share with you the size of the opportunity in China, because I think if I were to be doing this in Singapore, if I walk into work every day and take a photo, I don't think this would have ever happened, to be discovered and to be published. So if you okay, can we show where's the PPT controller? How do you use it? Okay. Yeah, and those are my social media ID anyway. So if you want to continue to share photos every day, so if you want to see That's my real name, Siok Siok, and that's my WeChat official account. So I'm going to share this story about how an iPhone photographer pulled off this whole thing about being published. Recently, I had dinner with a friend of mine who's from Finland. He's a filmmaker, and he's trying to get a movie made in China for 5 years, but he's not famous. So his game plan is he has to either become Fan Bingbing's boyfriend, or he has to become buddies with Jackie Chan. Okay, but the one thing that he commented on that I thought was very interesting was that he said he's friends with many professional photographers, but I'm the only one of his friends he knows who has published not just one book, but 2 books. And on top of it, I'm an iPhone photographer, as in I'm not a real photographer, okay? I actually take photograph with my phone. And I want to share briefly what has happened to my basically publishing and photography career in the past 2 years. Since 2015, I have my own set of limited edition China Postal Service postcards, as in they're actually sponsored by the China Postal Service. I have licensed one of my photos to be the cover of a very well-known, award-winning Chinese novel called 跑步穿过中关村. And I have been signed by a top literary agent in China. She's the China head of a global literary agency. And I have 2 book deals with top publishers. So the first book is my own photo book called 人在北京. It's published by Hou Lang. They are known for their cinema, photography, and art books. The second book is coming out next week. Okay, it's a collaboration with a Chinese novelist called Ning Ken. He wrote about growing up in Beijing in the 60s and 70s, and I did the photos and the captions in the book are done by me, and I made also a short documentary about him and his literary career. So next week I'll be at the Beijing International Book Fair, and I'll be on a panel with several well-known Chinese novelists. So I want to basically share how this came about, and kind of this like unlikely career, kind of a minor miracle came about. And there are several lessons that I can draw from this whole process. One, okay, is the whole idea of sharing something small every day. Because I think when we think about telling a China story, we think about something very grand. You know, like we think of, we must write a book, as in like a 500-page book. We must make a film, like a 60-minute or 90-minute film. But actually, I think the opportunity here is actually because of social media. The miracle I find with the phone is not really about the camera. It's not really about how good the camera is. It's really the only tool you have that allows you to take the photo, edit it, and also share it in real time, just on this phone, this humble smartphone. So in a way, in your hands, you have everything you need to share your China story every day. And why share that story? I think it's because if you look at the Chinese, 中文文化圈, the Chinese kind of cultural circle across China, including Singapore, Taiwan, Hong Kong, etc. You don't really hear that many voices of Singaporeans, like publishing or things like that. So it's important because if you share the voice, you're also telling Singapore's story. Like if you look at the book, it actually says, I think it's quite cute, it actually says 新加坡. Next to my name, they actually mark Singapore. I think they're trying to explain why my name is Siok Siok, because it doesn't make sense in pinyin. So one of the things is really that, but on social media, you always share something that's bite-sized. You don't share the whole novel, you share a chapter or a page. So what I did was I distilled something that, a very simple format, which is that I actually shared a photo every day of my walk into the hutongs and my perspective and point of view of the Beijing hutongs. So I think that that's really very important. And the other thing that I think is also important is really that you need to create something that help people remember you. Okay, I always share this story about how I always think of it as you need to understand the superhero principle. Okay, the superhero principle means that you need to help other people remember you. So, for example, what do superheroes and heroines have in common? Wonder Woman has the bra. No, they always Batman, Superman. They have a costume, right? They have superpower, right? And what else do they have? Huh? Weapons. They have their own weapons. They have what? Their own name. They have a sidekick usually. They also have their own what they call 座驾. They have like Batmobile, whatever way they get around. So one of the things that is very important is that when you tell a story, when you share a story, you need to distill how you want people to remember you. Okay, I think that's one of the reasons why people always ask me why I take photos in black and white. Because it's much more memorable. Because everyone is taking photos of themselves, selfies, photos of their nasi lemak, their food, the dinner, and they're all in color. So one of the reasons why I decided to take the photos in black and white is because it's very memorable. Like I'm the only person who don't take selfies, who don't take photos of my food, but every day I share a black and white photo. And also I think related to the photography is the whole idea that it's my superpower, right? Because I never say anything about myself or my company or whatever I can do, but the thing is that it indirectly kind of remind people that I'm a visual storyteller. My superpower is that I can tell a story with pictures. You know, I am a documentary filmmaker. So the one interesting thing about the photography is that I don't say anything of myself. I don't take picture of myself, but it's the one thing I do every day that brings me the most business opportunities. Quite surprisingly, I have investors come to me. I have clients come to me. This recently, as I published the book, all sorts of opportunities have come about because of this black and white photos where I don't say anything about myself. So one of the things I always advise is in terms of your own branding and telling your China story. In Chinese, I always say 宁可不通，不可普通. So don't be like everyone else. You know, distill that one thing that makes you stand out, your costume or your superpower, and really do it consistently. And don't be a perfectionist, as in you doesn't have to be a perfect photo. It doesn't have to be this perfect quote. It doesn't have to be, you can do it any way you want. It could be a 30-second video. It could be, some people do a quote and every day. Some people share a little lesson they learn about something every day, or life hack. But whatever it is, be persistent. The amazing thing is when the book came out, I find that a lot of people were congratulating me, not so much because of the photography. They say, it's because of my persistence. Okay? Because I've been doing this I've done this for 5 years. So I got the book deals maybe 2 years ago, but it took another 2 years for me to finish editing the book and getting it ready to be published, etc. So persistence, it's like sharing something small every day, sounds simple until you think about how long it may take for you to really make an impression. And the other thing that I want to share is really about how in photography, the best camera is the camera you always have with you. Okay? Not many of us carry the DSLR around or whatever around, but most of us have our phone. It's a very simple tool, but because it's always with you, it's also very, very useful. And I think that you could basically, I'm just going to quickly share my secret weapon. Okay, these are the apps I use to take the photograph. Okay, there's one app. It's called Hipstamatic. It's a paid app. It's very expensive. It's I think $3 or $2, which is about, yeah, it's quite expensive because in China you don't pay for anything, right? So it's relative to free. It's expensive. I use Hipstamatic because because of the black and white filters. It has excellent black and white filters that gives it a very filmic touch. For low light conditions and night photography, I use the iPhone camera app, the app that comes with the iPhone. For photo editing, I use Snapseed. It's actually something that everybody uses, I think. How many people use Snapseed? Okay, a few people. How many of you use 美图秀秀? Oh, two honest people. What about the rest? Okay, I'm sure you all use 美图秀秀 in secret at night. Okay, yeah. So Snapseed, and the other thing that I use is Low Mob, which is a filter app. It has very retro kind of filmic filters that you can use. So to kind of give your photo a certain touch. And I'm going to show you, when people see my photographs, the one question they ask me is not 怎么拍的. They don't ask me how I take the photograph. They ask 怎么修的. Okay? Because China is the middle kingdom of photo editing. Okay? Like for my company, I film a lot of bloggers and fashion key influencers. But the thing is, most of them don't look, in real life, they don't look anything like their photos online. Okay, we once filmed a fitness event, and they had 6 women KOLs come who are fitness bloggers. And our camera guy got on set, got to the event, and he looked around and said, 女神在哪里? Because in real life, they don't look like, with the 马甲线 and all that. They just look like, not like exactly like me, but like, but the reality is actually most of the photographs I take is mainly in the taking of the photograph, okay? Because I believe that if you take the photo well, you actually don't need to edit it too much. And I'm going to prove it, okay? I'm going to show you the before and after photographs of a few photos that I've taken. So can people tell me what are the differences between before and after? What? Okay, focus on the face. Yeah. And I made it brighter. Increase contrast. I put the focus on the face. It's a feature on Snapseed called lens blur. You could put the focus on the face and blur out the background. But I think the important thing to see is really that the elements of a good photograph is already there. They're already there. And it takes me about 60 to 90 seconds to actually quickly enhance it and then share it on social media. Because if you were to take 2 seconds to take a photo and then you spend 2 days editing it, 我要送你2个字, okay? Don't think of any 脏话, okay? It's 何苦? What's the point? What's the point of using your phone to take a photograph if you're going to spend so much time editing it? Because the power is really in the intimacy of real-time sharing. It's that sense of people building the intimacy and trust with your audience. So the next photo is the same. It's just making it brighter, enhancing the contrast. And this one is more edited. Can people tell me what the differences are? What? Cropping? Yeah, I went much closer. I lost the window at the top, okay? And the light, right? On the right. Yeah, I made the contrast much more dramatic, especially around his face, okay? But this is really as far as I go in terms of editing. So most of my photos, before and after, the differences are between 10 to 20%. So, so I think to share with you all this is because one of the things about sharing your China story on social media is really about overcoming your perfectionism. Someone asked me if I were to, I told them, because I always say I always share one every day from the 5 or 6 photos I take every day. They say, what if on that day you don't have a photo you like? So if I don't have a photo I like, I pick the one I can live with and share it. The reason is because it's a cumulative effect of the sharing. And also, I find that my perspective on the photograph is actually different. Like on the day I just take it and share it, I'm very unimpressed. It's like, oh, another photo I took. But if I give it a few days or give it a week and I start looking back on the photographs, this is not bad. This is quite good. So sometimes whether something is good changes over time. So, and people who are writers, also, how many of you are writers? How many of you write or blog or nobody? Okay, we should start. So, yeah, because if you are writers, one of the advice for becoming a prolific writer is to write for brief periods of time every day. So like instead of writing 3 days without sleeping and then passing out and never wanting to write again, the best thing you can do is actually write for between 30 minutes to 1.5 hours every day, but keep persisting at it. So quick tips on how to take better photographs in case you are interested. One is go closer. It sounds very simple, but most smartphone photographs are too far away. Okay? You need to go closer because photography, like painting, like everything else, is the art of framing. And framing is about what you leave out. Okay? So if you leave everything in and keep everything in a macro picture, your photograph is going to be very boring. Okay, you need to decide what to leave out. You need to go closer because people always say that TV is the medium of the close-up. Film is the medium of the long shot. I also think that for smartphone photography, it's much better on the close-up, but especially when you are photographing people. This one I've already shared, which is really, when I take photographs of people, I look for their distinctive physical feature. So in this case, there's the beard. I pick out people that I thought I could cast in the movie. So when I actually take photographs as people come down the street, I don't take random photographs. I take people who I think I will remember, looks like they could be a great character. So I look for visual things like what they're wearing, whether they have what I call props, whether they have a walking stick or they're pushing something along. So that's the other tip. To really, the simple thing is, I always feel that, and I always say that, I don't think that I got the opportunity to publish because I'm a better photographer than other people, because technically I'm not that accomplished as a photographer. I think it's because I'm not a better photographer, I think I'm a better storyteller. And the reason why I'm a better storyteller is because I look for great characters. Great characters is a shortcut to a great story. Because once you have a great character, your reader and your audience will start filling in the story in their own imagination and memory. They'll start thinking, oh, of this movie I saw. When I was growing up, there was this scene, or I did this thing with my dad. So the reason to search for great characters is because once you have a character, you naturally have a story. And once you have a story, people will remember your photographs 10 times better than any other 风光照, like the great scenery, the color photography of great scenery. Okay, because it actually touches someone's heart. And the thing about sharing your China story is really, you need to connect with people and move them and kind of show them that it's is relevant to their lives. Okay, so the other thing that is very important is use natural light, and the reason is because if you use when lighting conditions are good, there's very little that separate a smartphone and a professional camera. So the trick is to be very sensitive to light and know how to use it, use available light instead of trying to battle low light conditions. And how do you become better at using natural light? It's really to become sensitive to things like what direction is the light coming from? 什么时候顺光，什么时候逆光? The other thing is, like, what time of the day is the light the best for photography? So, and with practice, you become more and more skilled as a photographer. Okay, the final thing I'm going to share about sharing your China story is, I always say that, okay, the reason why I've kind of gotten all these opportunities is not because of the camera on the smartphone. It's because of the social network. The miracle of the phone is it connects you to something called the internet. And the internet connects you to something called your 朋友圈. Okay, the reason why all these opportunities have come about is because I share it on social media every day. If I had taken the same photos but kept it on my camera or laptop and never share it, none of this would have happened. I would not have realized that I'm a photographer. No one else would have known. Okay, and so the final thing I thought is very important is to unleash your genius. You need to find your seniors. Seniors means your community, the people you're connected with, fellow creators, fellow innovators who will help you get your work seen and by more and more people. So I always joke that, you know, like if, for example, if we exchange, if I take your 朋友圈 and you take mine, and I share the same photographs to a different group of people, the results are actually different. Okay, the reason why I have had the good fortune of kind of being discovered on social media is because my friends are people who make things happen. They are creators, they are innovators, they are people who say, oh, you're doing something interesting, let me help you. Let me help you put up an exhibition. Let me help you start a crowdfunding campaign. So to share your China story, you need to first build your audience, like the people that you meet every day, the people that you work with every day. They are the key to you kind of finding bigger opportunities in China. So as for example, aside from being discovered on WeChat by an agent and being signed, for the past 2 months, I have been doing 1 or 2 events every weekend, and almost all the events are organized for me by my friends on social media. You know, like all my WeChat friends have mobilized to help me set up bookstore events, exhibition, and I'm doing 1 or 2 media interviews a week. I just finished filming a Beijing TV half-hour documentary. They're doing a half-hour documentary about my photography work. You know, tomorrow I'm going to be filming another video with another media outlet. But all this has happened because of my friends, of my seniors, my fellow creators, and the goodwill you need to build before you need it. You can't say, oh, I'm going to publish my book next month. Let's find my seniors. It's too late. Okay, you need to start building it 3 years ahead of time. Everyone can be your 贵人. Everyone can put you on the front page of, you know, 新京报 or China Daily. But you need to build that rapport and network ahead of time, not when you need it, especially in a place like China. But give you a quick example. I'm going to be going to Shenzhen end of August, last week of August. But all the opportunities came about because of social network. Someone who has been following my photos recommended me to be speaking at the GoPro Women's Summit. And because I was going to be in Shenzhen, I asked a couple of people on WeChat, friends, about setting up more events in Shenzhen since I'm going to be there. And literally, I have like 3 events set up because I just asked, and my friends helped me repost, and all these things happen. So the key, I think, to really creating and sharing your China stories, really that you have everything you need. Okay, you don't need an expensive tool. You don't need to do something that you don't have to wait until you're ready. Okay, in fact, I think you should start right away. And the important thing is really to tell a good story, present a point of view about China. Like, I feel that the fact that I'm from Singapore is a big advantage because the photos I take are very different than the photos that the locals would take, and also very different from the photos that Westerners would take. I have this in-between perspective that resonates with both. So the biggest fans of my photography has been the Beijingers, the people who live and grew up here, and the foreigners, the expats, the Westerners. So first, you have everything you need to tell your story. The other thing is develop your point of view. Have something to say, but that actually comes from actually sharing it. It's very hard to know what your point of view is if you never attempt to express it. And I think that that's very important. Thirdly, understand the power of social media. The trends, that you need to find the like-minded people. Need to understand that it's not about absolute technical ability, how good a writer you are, how good a photographer you are, how good a videographer you are, but it's how you mobilize people to support your creative work, to spread the story, and to make them feel like they are connected to you and that they want to help you and support you and help you get bigger opportunities. And so you need to think social media. All this is free. It comes with the internet. So the next time you are looking at your phone, think about what you can do with it, okay? And again, connect with me on WeChat. Siok Siok is my WeChat ID. I'm also on Twitter as Siok Siok as well. Thanks so much for listening to me. Enjoy the nasi lemak. I'm sorry to hold you from the meal.
Thank you, Siok Siok.